Hello everybody and welcome back to another Kings of War battle report. I'm Visibly Riley, and today we have Goblins versus the Kingdoms of Men. This battle was fought at 2250 points, and the scenario was kill. So, yep, the list palooza continues. Unfortunately, I got stuck playing the Goblin list from before, as I had packed... I just packed the wrong army. I mean, I'm in holiday hell, guys, so... Anyway, again, there is no easy army update just yet, and I'm too lazy to write out the list, so I'll just have to point them out in the army picks. So here we see the table. To go over, again, the scenario, kill is you just need to have the differential between what you and your opponent killed be equal to or greater than 10% the total points of the game. So in this case, I would need to kill 225 points more than my opponent to win. So going over the terrain, it was a little anemic today. As you might guess, I tend to show up a little bit late due to work for most of these, so I just, I get what I get. So starting out, we have this piece of terrain, this area piece. These are both height 6 forests that we have. There were no forests available, so we got what we got. Then we have 1, 2 right over here by the giant, and 3 right under my opponent's almost his entire army. We have 3 hills. This one down here on the lower left, it's actually slightly in my deployment zone, but this hill is just oof, that is almost entirely in my opponent's side. And I did win the roll off, but I just thought it would be a little broken and not really conducive to learning how to play the game, as my opponent doesn't play that often, to have all my artillery up on this hill, so we didn't do that. And lastly, we have, actually not second to last, we have 1, 2 height 1 walls, and then lastly we have this over here in the upper right corner. That is an impassable piece of terrain, the entire thing is, but it shouldn't come up that much. My army isn't all that, well, not the way I use it, not that fast. So moving forward, let's talk about the lists. So my opponent bought a gorgeous army from Titan Forge, and I actually remember when this army was coming out. It's called the Dragon Empire. And there was a Kickstarter a couple years ago, but at the time I wasn't playing Kings of War. I wasn't really into the 9th Age, and Warhammer was dead. And I went, well, I already have all these armies. These models are gorgeous, but I don't want to buy a whole army and then not have a game to use for it. Here I am a couple years later playing Kings of War, and I'm kicking myself because that Kickstarter was a screaming deal, and these models are fantastic. So I blame Raging Heroes. So anyway, my opponent has this gorgeous dragon model. That is his... Hold on, I am not big on the Kingdoms of Men, so that is his general on Winged Beast. I don't think he has any items, but I don't really remember that clearly. Second up, we have these guys. These are his monk models. They're great. Those are his berserkers. Then he has right here the troop of foot guard, I want to say. I think they're either foot guard or, yeah, I'm pretty sure those are foot guard. So yeah, he's got a troop of foot guard. Moving forward, in the center of his line, way back here, there's a little wizard. I think he has the Inspiring Talisman. But then we have a horde of what are the guns called? Arquebusiers. Those are, yeah, that's what's back there. Then, oh no, those aren't the arquebusiers. Those are, that's a horde of heavy pike. So that's a heavy pike horde. Again, I'm in love with these models. I wish I had it, but woof, they are expensive. But yeah, that's a horde of heavy pike. Then in front we have the arquebusiers. This is a horde, and then we have a regiment. Then we have in the back here, this is his stand-in for a what is it? The war engine. Sorry for making you listen to this. The siege artillery. So it's invisible, as my opponent forgot it, which was a damn shame, as this is such a pretty army. It's really jarring to hit that one piece that's not up to it. This lovely lady here, that is an ASB. I don't think she has anything. We have a horde of chariots. I think they have the Blade of Slashing. Yeah, here's a better picture of those chariots. I am kicking myself. Those are so good. Then we have in the front here, we have another horde of spearmen, and in the back here, a horde of foot guard. And they have taken the two-handed upgrade to match their thousand-folded Japanese steel. So, oh, and then lastly, we have another wizard, and both of his wizards, I believe, took Banechant too. So that's the list, as pretty as it is. And here, this is the goblin list again. So starting off, we have 1 and 2 goblin blasters. Then we have a Flaget with this one has a Fleabag and the Diadem of Dragonkind. Then over here, we see 2 regiments of Spitters just hanging out with their now irregular status. We have a horde of chariots, or the first horde of chariots. Then to the right of them, we have 2 hordes split right about here of rabble. The guys in the back here, these have the Banner of the Griffin. Behind them, we see the second Flaget. This guy has the loot of Insatiable Darkness, and of course a Fleabag. My first Wiz, this guy is a Lightning Bolt 3 base, and then I bought him Banechant 2, and Banechant 2, Mirrodin's Amulet, and Teleport, so Teleport 3. And way back here, this little guy, that is Funny Bone, so he's ready to give me a little dread. Then we have my second horde of chariots, again naked. And off to the right, we see my Mincer, who is facing this way. So, yep, Mincer, my giant, my colossal giant. This is a coaster from my office, and it's actually almost exactly 75 by 75. And unfortunately, the box that I'd packed the army I was going to bring had a 75 by 75 monster, and I forgot the base, so it'll have to do. Behind them, we see my last horde of rabble. In front is Cuzlo. Oh my god! If you're playing goblins, and maybe if you're playing ogres, I think this guy is an auto include. He's just so good. In the back here, we have the second Wiz. This guy's mounted on a Fleabag, has Lightning Bolt, of course, Banechant. Magic item is Inspiring Talisman, and then I bought him the Guiding Light because, again, I've got all 4 mortars, or the big rock throwers. So this one right here, that is the special one. It's on a chariot base, but that's because, again, my opponent forgot his war engine, so I let him borrow one of mine, and since it probably won't matter, I just put this guy on a chariot for now, so we can mark the frontage. And that's the army. We move on to turn 1. So goblins win the roll-off and advance forward. So the idea here is to stay, my chariots are just at a 20 here, but these chariots on the right, they are within 18 of his chariots. Because I'm not particularly afraid of him charging in. I can charge with the rabble back into him. I can send my goblin blasters in. He doesn't have any shooting off here on the right. So I doubt the blasters are going to be removed just yet, especially as his war engine cannot see them, right? The only thing that can actually see the things is the troop of arquebusiers. So I fire all my bows right into these guys, trying to pop them turn 1. The dice aren't that great. I also throw a lightning bolt from there, I think. I don't think that this Wiz has a lightning... Yeah, he does not lightning bolt them. He lightning bolts into the berserkers. So, yeah, I don't roll that well, but I'm only heading on 6s, right? I've got, tons of archers, but only on 6s isn't enough to do much, but I do a couple wounds. Over here, my Wiz, I believe, hits and wounds with all 3 of his lightning bolt, which is great, but this is a troop of berserkers, so, they're at -16, I want to say, so there's no roll. Otherwise, we just move forward. So, end of turn 1 for goblins. Yep, this is showing off the shooting. These, I don't think the dice represent anything today, but anyway, that's that. And here is Kingdoms of Men turn 1. So his turn 1 is a bit more exciting as he gets these chariots into my chariots. I'm not too afraid because, again, I have the Banner of the Griffin right here, so I'm a 15-17 rerollable, and who cares if he gets into my chariots. So, yep, he sends them in here. It looks like I did a wound or 2. Maybe I fired a couple of bows. Maybe some of my line of sights were a little messed up, but it looks like I did 1 or 2 wounds there. Otherwise, his units move forward. I believe I nailed a waver onto the arquebusiers here, so that was lucky. But yep, maintaining that battle line. His dragon here, I didn't think about it, but he did have a charge on Cuzlo, and it's not a dragon, it's a beast of war or whatever. Not the beast of war, that's a different unit. Winged beast, right? So these guys only have 6 attacks. They only have crush 2. Granted, against Cuzlo that's enough, but only 6 attacks with a 3+ to hit, so a 4+ as I'm in the woods. I'm not super afraid of that, so I just take that charge and move on. So in this combat here, yeah, he actually rolls pretty well in his combat, chariot v chariot, but not well enough to get a break or even a waiver. So thankfully these guys are ready to countercharge. Over here, he rolls terribly. I think he does 1 wound to Cuzlo, or no, I'm sorry, he does quite a few. He does 3 wounds to Cuzlo with you know, a 3 or 6 attacks on 4s and 2s, but he does 3 wounds, but not enough to get a waiver. And this is, no, it was 1. Sorry, yeah, it was 1 wound on Cuzlo. I was right the first time. Sorry about that. So yeah, the giant is actually where his base is. He just won't play nice with it as this rabble horde is behind him, and he has a bit of overhang as, man, the old Forge World giant is a big motherfucker. So yeah, gonna have to figure that out if I want to play these guys. But yep, at the end of combat, not a whole lot done. He did 6 wounds to my chariots, which is okay, but not enough to get a waiver. And we move on to turn 2. So turn 2, the goblins advance, and now it's my turn to get into combat. You know, a bit of combat at least. And so I decide on the right here to take my goblin blasters and just blast things up. So I charge with this one, and then the other one couldn't actually make the charge into the chariot, so it just moves forward. And in retrospect, I then charged with my chariots, right? I got this counter charge. I failed the yellow belly here, right? And I did do the order correct. I had these guys roll first because they've got this flank charge. I mean, Funny Boone moved out of the way. He went somewhere. But they roll their yellow belly, and I fail it, which means that then I should have not charged with my chariots and just backed up a little bit and had both of these guys just move forward, because I have 2 troops of archers who are facing the wrong way. His dragon's off here to the right, so that's why they're facing that way now. But they were faced like this, right? So they could have shot into his horde of chariots, and I could have blown both these guys up, as the way that they were angled, sort of like that. They could just run in here 10 anyway and get about the same result. So a mistake by me. But anyway, the chariots and the giant combo charge this unit of foot guard. I want nothing to do with the heavy pike for now, as I've got too much thunderous and he hasn't snare. So these are 4+ to hit units. No, thank you. Cuzlo decides that he doesn't care about that dragon at all and has a juicy flank onto the berserkers, so he takes that. But I do have my little whiz with guiding light move forward to slam guiding light here, and then I plan to just pelt him with 4 rocks on a 4+. So yeah, seems pretty good. Oh, I guess that's how I did damage before. I hit with one of my rocks on the arquebusiers, I think. So yeah, I take my mincer, and the idea is that I want to make it so it can see any of these combats. So it can make it 10 to where my giant is. If the dragon lives and charges into my rabble, it can make it there. If, you know, so on and so forth. So that's the idea. And because this stupid rabble failed their yellow bellied, because when we measured, this is actually after I moved them, so this was they would have charged into the front. So in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have done it at all. I should have just done the shooting plan, but I'm not a seasoned goblin player in Kings of War just yet, especially not this new hybrid, or this version of hybrid goblins, as this is a very gimmicky list that I built just to get that -3. But anyway, moving forward, in this combat, I do nail it. But when my 2 little wagons blow up, only the one on the right here actually makes it into these guys, the foot guard, because I roll a 3 with, or I roll a 4 with that one, needed like a 2, but then this one right here needs a 4 to make it, or a 3 to make it. No, it was a 4. Yeah, a 4 to make it and fails it on the d6 roll. But he does roll a 3 to get to the stupid chariots, and then he rolls 11, does 10 more wounds to my chariots, and does whatever to his, like, these two together do, like, you know, this one does, like, 7 or 8 as its roll, so it does, like, 7 or 8 wounds to the Kingsman chariots, and then, like, 6 wounds to the foot guard. But unfortunately, I really wounded my chariot, so just a mistake there. I could have backed up with the chariots and just let these guys do their job, and I think that would have been smarter, especially as I had spitters and my Diadem of Dragonkind already set up. And who cares if a dragon flanks my spitters? It doesn't matter. Over here, this combat goes. Oh, and I forgot to mention. Yes, I do kill off the chariots, but I do not get a waiver or obviously a break on this horde of foot guard. So over here, fighting the troop of foot guard, the giant and chariot combo do what they do and pretty easily blow through them. And I make another mistake here, and this is just, honestly, I think it's just me being a little tired. But I decided to do this combat first, and I reform the giant facing like this, right? So, but in my head, like, I know what berserkers are, I know what they do, and I know what their nerve is like, right? And I didn't do Cuzlo first, right? So Cuzlo's over here, and I could have just rolled Cuzlo's combat, seen where we were at, right? If I'd killed off this flank unit, then I move on to the giant and chariot unit and do that stuff, right? But as it stands, Cuzlo does okay, but doesn't manage to kill off the berserkers. And so when I reform this chariot, this giant, I just give a flank to berserkers who have like 20-ish attacks. What do they have? Berserkers have 15 attacks as a regiment, so they're 30 attacks on 3s and 3s with, 3s to hit and crush 1, so 4s, but he also has Bane Chant easily accessible right there, so likely 3s and 3s. So just a mistake by me. And these pike are just right in front of the chariots. It's just bad news bears. But anyway, I do kill off the foot guard. Cuzlo, as I said before, he does pretty well. He does 5 or 6 wounds out of his 10 attacks on 3s and 2s onto the berserkers, but doesn't manage to kill them off. But still, he does regen his 1 wound off, so that's great. And at the end of the turn, it looks like this. You can see that both the chariot units have removed his units, but are ready to get countercharged again, as I don't think I moved these chariots back far enough. Oh, no, I did. I measured this beforehand, and I think they're perfectly out of range of these foot guard, because that would be really bad. Or not foot guard. These are pike as well. Yes, those are another unit of heavy pike. The foot guard are back here. Sorry about that. But yeah, you can see on the chariots, these dice right here, I'm now sitting on 16 wounds because of my own blasters, and that's just poor management by me. And moving on to Kingdoms of Men. So yeah, his heavy pike looks like they make it into my chariots. So that was a mistake, as I could have had my ASB in the bottom here, the flagget, just not be directly behind me, and then after I kill these guys, I back up D3. Or I might have just forgot to do it. But anyway, they end up there. I get charged. That's really bad. These chariots get charged by more heavy pike. That's also bad, as again, I'm sitting on 6 wounds already, as his artillery hit turn 1. And yeah, the berserkers are flank charging my giant, so not the best place to be in for a goblin on turn 2. And his shooting is now fully operational, as all of that can shoot at me. Granted, the mortar has very limited targets, as both the chariots are in combat, and so he'll have to shoot at the mincer. Or at Cuzlo, I guess. Yep, and then in this combat, I'm pretty sure he blows right through the chariots. My opponent rolls very well this turn for his heavy pike, and due to their elite, he gets like 10-ish wounds on these guys, but they're already at 16. He needed like 1 or 2. So gets through them, and then these chariots, yeah, again, he rolls very well with the pikemen and just annihilates these guys. And so that's just both my chariot units gone because of my mistakes. These chariots, these chariots, I don't think this was a mistake. I think this was fine. The problem is that I don't have the giant ready to back me up now. So, meh. speaking of the giant actually holds out. He does 11 wounds to it after getting a Bane Chant on it, but does not roll the. He only needed in 9 because Cuzlo here is here to help me out, giving me -1 nerve. But yeah, so he needs a 9. Oh, and I forgot to mention during the last turn, I missed with Guiding Light onto his stupid dragon. Oh, I'm not gonna go back, but yeah, I missed with Guiding Light on his stupid winged beast, I guess, and then my mortars hit with one or two of them, and I do a couple. I hit with one, yeah. I do a couple wounds to the dragon, but yeah, thankfully I do get a waiver on him, so he's stuck over there this turn. And at the end of turn 2 for Kingdom's Men, this is what it looks like. So you can see that both my chariots are gone. My archers are still out of position because I'm very good at this, and my rabble are they're in an okay position. I'd have to charge these guys in the front, so more yellow-bellied, but I'm not super worried about it. The bigger problem is that I've decided to put all my units on top of this barrier because, again, I'm just too good at the game. So yeah, at least my stupidity with the giant hasn't cost me my giant just yet. And Cuzlo is he's primed and ready. Although, again, there's a dragon sitting right behind my entire line, so I'm gonna have to deal with that. He's taken 1 wound from my Diadem of Dragonkind. And we move on to turn 3. So turn 3. Yeah, you can see my giant decides to go into the heavy pike, and this is solely because I forgot that they have ensnare. Not my best point, but at least my rabble had a flank charge here, so I shouldn't really have to worry about the berserkers. Again, his dragon is stuck, so my whiz is here to hopefully cast Guiding Light. And by the way, the last time I played them, I also failed with Guiding Light the one time I tried it. So great spell. Funny bone here. So you know, I'm showing the Batman a real boner, and going right into this wizard that he has, because I've got 1 attack on a 6. I believe in me. My archers, these guys are facing this way, these guys are facing this way, so I'm throwing a couple shots into the dragon and a couple shots into the foot guard because I don't believe that the archers are going to do a whole lot either way, and I want to be ready to actually charge with them if I need be, especially against this dragon. I mean, I know I'm hitting on 6s and I'm charging through terrain, so I'm really on 7s, but I really only need to sink 1 wound to really mess him up. I just said really a lot. Moving forward. Both of my units, both of my units of rabble pass their yellow-bellied and charge into the heavy pike. So I'm hoping that this number of attacks, I've got, 25 on rabble. So I've got 25 here, 25 here, 25 on 5s, 25 on 6s, right? So both of them, I planned a Bane Chant because I've got a Bane Chant there, and I've got a Bane Chant right there. So I've got 2 Bane Chants to cast right now. Should be able to do it. Well, I shouldn't say should, but I'm hoping. And in this combat, yeah, I actually do pretty well on the wounds. I think I get them up to 10 or 12 because they're already sitting on 6. But and I do have them in dread, right? I didn't just charge off with Funny Bone and do nothing, but they are in dread range. But unfortunately, my nerve checks weren't that great up to this point. So yeah, I don't even get a waiver on them. I actually got a break, and then they re-rolled it due to very inspiring, which is what Kingdom's Men get, and I fail it. So, yep, they are ready to wreck some rabble. This guy, yeah, he misses. He does not hit that wizard. It's unfortunate. He's a mighty combatant with his nothing. The giant does pretty well here. Does a couple of wounds, but I forgot to mention this, Cuzlo could have charged into the flank of these guys, and I really should have. I totally blanked on the fact that they have ensnare, and I thought that my giant might be able to do enough damage to get a waiver here, as I do have Cuzlo around and I have Funny Bone there. So he's at the -3 due to brutal. So I was hoping for a waiver, but yep, I forgot about ensnare. So I do a couple wounds here, but unfortunately not enough to get that waiver. Cuzlo, on the other hand. Yeah, so Cuzlo, his plan is to kill off this wizard, and I think I did this right. My opponent and I were talking about it, and honestly, we just didn't have time to check the book. But as far as I'm aware, you have to take the quickest path while charging, right, towards an individual. But since individuals they turn to face you, I slid my laser until I could hit the individual. then I moved it, and without hitting a unit, right? So I moved it, and I ended up at this slight angle. So the idea was, if I kill off this wizard, I will overrun, and then the next target, it doesn't quite look like it, but the next target I'll hit is actually this ASB, and then I can roll into the rear of these guys. So it's a greedy play, but I do have 5 attacks, so I hope for it. And Cuzlo manages to kill off this wizard, and then hits with 5 of his attacks, wounds with 5 of his attacks onto the ASB. The ASB, I believe, is normally a 10-12, so a 9-11, I think. So I knock her down to an 8-5, and I roll a 3, so I get a waiver and not the kill. So messed up that plan and probably messed up this flank. So don't get greedy, guys. But thankfully, the rabble here this is not a greedy charge. I've got 50 attacks, and I easily kill off the berserkers, so that's great. In shooting, I actually did manage to land Guiding Light this turn, so I have done it. But then I managed to miss with all 4 of my pieces of artillery on 4 pluses, so I do nothing. So good news there, guys. Well worth it. In the future, as a small note, I don't think that the 4 big rock thrower is a particularly good list. Even if I plan to do this like Cuzlo plus Dread idea, I will almost certainly drop them all, take trombones, and use that as my brutal shooting, the quote unquote brutal shooting due to Dread or Cuzlo. So that's the idea. But yes, just because I decided to take these rabble and face towards the table because I rolled this combat first, as again I forgot about Ensnare and I was just getting kind of overconfident. My math was off with Cuzlo in the back here. So yeah, I faced towards the dragon to kill him off as I fail with all my rocks. So I'm like, oh, I need to go kill off that dragon but if I just faced this way and said, the dragon could charge me in the rear, but who cares? Because then he's closer to my actual lines. I can do something. I can throw rocks at him another turn. While if he goes into the rock throwers, they have a minimum range, so he'll just probably kill them all. If I'm facing this way and he ignores me, I can then help in these combats because so much of my opponent's army is here. So just a stupid mistake, but life goes on. And speaking of that, we've got Empire of Men turn 3. So you can see that the Ashigaru here, the heavy pikemen, go into the left rabble. And this is because I don't think because of where Funnybone is and because of these archers having a slight corner past my rabble here, it makes it so he can't combo charge these guys because he won't fit. And then when he tries to combo charge here, if we go back a picture, these guys are the rightmost unit, so they would slide to here, and then these guys cannot fit through because it's not a counter charge for the foot guard back there. It would be a regular charge, which means they actually have to move, not be placed. So they cannot make it, so instead it's just these guys who get in there and the foot guard are stuck. But it's not that big of a deal as this dragon goes right into my butt. So that's bad. Again, the elite or the heavy pikemen go into the giant. He's sitting on 11 wounds, so that's bad. But Cuzlo is just slightly at a 6, so yay. Or no, he's not. Yeah, Cuzlo is totally screwing me over here. But that's the fun. That's the fun of him. So he's over there. Yep. Moving forward in this combat, thankfully my opponent rolls pretty poorly here. With his pikeman, only manages to do 6 wounds to me and doesn't get the waiver, which is great because this is my Banner the Griffin unit. So I need to make sure they don't go down. And now it'll be a counter charge, and I'm on this stupid wall, so I won't be suffering the -1 again. Over here, the dragon does, I think it's like 12 or 15 wounds, or a good amount, but unfortunately, rolls a 3 on the break check, so nothing happens. And this is where the game starts swinging. My break tests have not been great so far, and I've made a lot of mistakes, while my opponent actually has been playing pretty well, in my opinion, outplaying me. But now his break checks are not doing too well, and that's coming back to bite him. But just look at that detail on that thing. It's so good. Over here, yep. So this dragon, or winged beast, I should be calling him, rolls into one of my mortars, looking for an easy meal. But we'll see what happens with that in a second. And then these these heavy pike roll into the giant, and thankfully, again, don't break him. I think they do 6 wounds to him, even with their crushing strength. Or maybe he missed the Bane Chant. But yeah, so he only does 6 wounds to me, putting me on 17. I'm only a 20, right? And he double ones it. So, and speaking of double ones, right over here too, it does 12 wounds to my mortar, double ones it. But he's still relatively safe, as none of these mortars can fire at him. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, he didn't do 6 wounds to me. I was just thinking, because I was like, man, I know I end up with 2 6s here. Yeah, he does 4 wounds to me, which puts me on a 15. He rolls a 4 and fails it. So, not the double ones, as I would have taken a picture of that, I hope. And you can see over here, yep, 13 wounds to the rabble, but no break, and 6 here. Yeah, that's correct. He did shoot at this little whiz, doing 2 wounds to him, and his mighty 8-10 leadership was too difficult to overcome. And Funny Bone took 1 wound, but nothing came of it. And moving on to turn 4. So turn 4 goblins, we need to get some stuff done, as there are too many fucking humans in the way. So I take these archers, and originally I was going to charge, but why would I do that, as I have a diadem here and no other targets? So these archers just move to block up the foot guard, and these archers get real brave and go into a flank charge, which doubles their attacks to 10 again, so, or 8. Because they are in the flank, but they're charging through terrain and only hit on the 6, so they're on 7s. So yay. These rabble, I think about a lot of ways, because I wanted to charge, or not that way. I wanted to take these rabble and flank charge into these heavy pike, but I can't fit because of these foot guard and the dragon, right? Because it's not a counter charge, so I don't just place them. So I end up just taking the counter charge into the dragon, hoping to knock that 3 into something usable. I move this guy back to get some Bane Chant going, and also Inspire, because I have abandoned. And this guy takes his flamethrower and just points it right at him. The giant goes right back into the heavy pike, hoping to finish them off. And again, Cuzlo has a decision. He can charge any of these units. He could charge the heavy pike, he could charge the ASB, he could charge these arquebusiers, but in the end, I'm not exactly sure what he does. We'll find out, I guess. The rabble, I mean, throwing good money after bad, I just rolled them into the forest to chase down a dragon that will fly away from me. So good job, me. Having hit with a guiding light, finally, I just move over here to trap my giant for some reason. And Funny Bone goes for the charge again. He is ready to mingle. Yep, just showing off this combat. So I actually do pretty well against the dragon. Doing 9-ish wounds, I want to say. I put him on like 8. Oh, I do 5 wounds to him, putting him on 8 wounds, and he's only a 14-16. So I need an 8 twice to kill him, and I roll a 6. So at least he's wavered. That's good for me. Over here, yeah, things are less good, as I've already done like 8 or 10 wounds to this unit. And unfortunately, I don't do much else. So I roll into them, I don't do anything, and they're not even wavered. So they're ready to fight. Yep, Funny Bone does nothing, because that's what he does. He's a funny guy. And my giant does pretty well here. Getting quite a few wounds, and I do have the -2 still, but again, I just can't nail those nerve checks. I'm just rolling like 4s and 3s. Yeah, I just can't get over it. Although I will say, I've been, mostly the Kingdoms of Men very inspiring rule has been doing all the work here, as I'm nailing him on the first roll, and then we re-roll it, and it's bad. But anyway, yeah, you can see these guys, they're sitting on 12 wounds. They're at 21-23, so they're really a 19, meaning I need a 7 to waver them, and I can't get it. Cuzlo has decided I probably shouldn't leave these arquebusiers anymore, and goes into them, getting a disrupt. These guys get popped by my mortars, just lobbing rocks, while a dragon slowly kills them all. And yeah, that's about all I do this turn. The dragon's still here. I do a couple wounds to the foot guard using the diadem and the archers, and unfortunately I get these guys to 12 too, and I have dread still, but it's just not enough. But at least, I mean, I need an 8 there, so it's not that bad to get a waiver. So yeah, moving forward. So we move on to Kingdoms of Men, turn 4. and you can see his charges. So the foot guard, yeah, a deadly unit going into some archers. That's funny. The dragon just backs up a little bit, making it so everyone's in his front. Good idea against yellow-bellied. These guys go back into the giant, looking to finish the job, and the arquebusiers go into Cuzlo because they were not wavered and they cannot shoot, so why not? Oh, I forgot to mention several turns ago. Yeah, so my mincer was faced like this on this hill, right? And the idea was I wanted him to be ready to charge any of these threats. But that also meant that his little rock lava and the arquebusiers that were here are in the flank. So when they shoot into him, they ignore my big shield and just blow him out of the water. So I'm not sure that was a big mistake by me. I could have hidden him a little bit better and held him back, particularly against this dragon, but I think that was just bad deployment. I think I should have deployed the mincer over here to fight this guy, because I had the giant over here already. So just some bad deployment, and you know, I'm going to talk about it 3 turns later. So yeah, the foot guard go into my archers and easily kill them off. It's not even a fight. He rolls very well, but it's so irrelevant against these archers, so it just blows right through them. These guys, I think he gets him this turn. They've only got 6 wounds on him. Yeah, they've only got 6 wounds on him, but he does like 12 wounds to me or some crazy amount and just blows them out of the water. It's not pretty. And then the giant finally falls, so he takes a further 10-ish wounds and gets killed off by these guys. So the heavy pike just doing work. Thankfully, Cuzlo, who is again on 1 wound because of regen, he lost his wound and he regains it when he fights these arquebusiers. They do 1 wound to him, so they turn off his spell siphon, I guess, but he's ready to go anyway. And over here, yeah, the guy is on 12 wounds, the dragon goes back into him, or the winged beast goes back into him, and easily finishes off. So this is what it looks like at the end of the turn. You can see, yeah, these guys, they're only on 6 wounds. He's got 25 attacks, question mark? No, he's got 30 attacks, so he's got 30 attacks on 4s, right? So he's got like 23-ish hits, 22-ish hits. So 22-ish hits, let's say, and then he wounds me on 4s, so he gets like 11 wounds. So I guess it wasn't all that bad of luck, but still, I was hoping to hold out for another turn or so. Just underestimating those heavy pike. And these guys, yep, thankfully no one killed them with shooting. As his wizard rolls up, I'm sitting on 13 wounds already. He gets the fireball, does 1 wound to me, and then rolls a 3. So no break there. I'm fine, ready to charge a dragon again. And we move on to turn 5. So turn 5 for the goblins. Things are getting a little dicey for them. So fighting for a tie now. Cuzlo decides to go into the ASB, and again, I don't think I'm misinterpreting the individual rules, but I might be. So I turn to face him to get a charge off, and then we end up like this. Actually, now that I think about it, because it's a counter charge, I might not need to do all this nonsense, and I might be facing like this, which is what I actually wanted, so I could overrun over here. Because I plan to shoot the arquebusiers, and they might not be here for me to overrun and get the fuck away from these heavy pike who are facing towards Cuzlo now. So anyway, that's what Cuzlo does. I move one of my whizzes, the injured one with teleport that he can't really cast anymore. I mean, he could cast it on Funny Bone, who's still somewhere floating about. Actually, I know where he is. He is charged into these heavy pike, just looking to do a wound to him because they're sitting on 12. So yeah, I moved this wizard in front because it's like a 5-inch overrun or a 6-inch overrun to make it over here. Yeah, it's a 6-inch right now and a 5-inch if I fail against this dragon. So that's the idea there. I think, yeah, I moved this guy over just to get a Bane chant, and my archers and the, no, just the rabble go into the dragon, because the archers have to back up a little bit as I want them to shoot. So that's the idea. I'm going to say that. So yeah, against this stupid dragon, I get him up to 13 wounds. He is sitting on double 1s to waver, and yep, I double 1 it. So right there, double 1s, he's ready to kill me. And over here, yeah, Funny Bone does not do any wounds. It's weird with his 1 attack on a 6. Cuzlo does quite a few wounds to this ASB, and under this interpretation, I need a 3+ because I actually do hit these arquebusiers with some rocks, and I do quite a few points of damage, get a waiver, but not a kill. So they're still there to overrun into and kill and run away with Cuzlo. So I kill off this ASB. I need a 3+ or a 2+ to make it, and I roll a 1. So I just end up like right here, ready to get charged in the flank. So definitely gonna pay for not helping out that giant. Bad news. I've decided to turn the rabble around, because why not? Why not just screw up more if I'm gonna screw up? These archers down here are dead, so ignore them. Yep, and that is the end of Goblin turn 5. Things are looking a little bleak. And Kingdoms of Men turn 5. So I forgot to take pictures of this turn as we were blowing right through it. The Goblin gets minced by these heavy pikemen. Cuzlo finally dies to the other heavy pikemen. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened here. The dragon goes into my horde of rabble and only wavers them. So again, we're just doing the dumb waver fight right now. And otherwise, I think the dragon eats off screen a little bit, eats another one of my rock throwers. So yeah, just showing off that. And yeah, he definitely gets a waiver here. Definitely. And he goes after my leftmost rock thrower and kills that off, and then turns to face as well as he can, with the board edge being right there, to face the rest of them. So that's the plan. And Cuzlo, poor dear Cuzlo, cut down in his prime. And we move on to turn 6. So it's turn 6, but the goblins are losing pretty badly at this point. But so many of these Kingdoms of Men units are almost dead, right? So all I have to do is do a point of damage here or there and roll like a 6 or a 7, and all of these little units just pop. So that's my plan. The archers have a plan to shoot into the dragon. If they do 1 wound to him, they'll put him on double 1s again. My little flamethrower is chasing down his foot guard, who is sitting on 12 wounds. These guys are also on 12 wounds, and my flamethrower could go into them if I want to as well. I move to sacrifice an ASB, and the Wiz just sort of sits here because he can lightning bolt the arquebusiers on the hill, he can lightning bolt the dragon over there, and then he can reach either of these units as well. So he's just sort of in the middle of the action. I guess also this unit, so he's just going after everything. I turn my rabble towards the foot guard just in case. And here's what it looks like at the end of turn 6. It is brutal. So I get the arquebusiers with a lightning bolt, kill them off. These guys get killed off by a rock. These guys, I actually do quite a few wounds. So these are sitting on like 17 damage or something, and I fail. The dragon does get killed off by these archers. They don't even need help. I do like 4 wounds to him, or 3 wounds to him, putting him on double 1s, kill that. And of course, Funny Bone goes for a charge, this time trebling his attacks, and misses. So, eats those 6s. And we move on to Kingdoms of Men turn 6. So it's pretty simple. We've got a wizard here trying to burn down one of these units, and the foot guard going into my very, very damaged rabble. Off screen again, to the left, the winged beast goes into another rock. I think he actually goes into the big rock thrower, the 100-point guy. Goblins rock thrower. Yep, right there. Going into the flank. Not that it matters, but he is. And in this combat, yeah, the rabble get diced. He actually doesn't roll that high, but yeah, we already had 17 wounds, so he didn't need to. Again, gorgeous models. And this is what the end of turn 6 looks like. So yeah, my rabble are gone. The big rock, Gobbler's big rock thrower is gone. Unfortunately, the fireball continues to do 1 wound. So this guy's sitting on 3. So yeah, not even wavered, doesn't care. And we roll off if there's a turn 7, and there is. So turn 7, Goblins will need this to pull in the lead, although I still think it'll be a tie. So we go for some shooting. I obviously shoot into the foot guard, and I got them pretty high, but I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. Oh, I forgot to mention, I could have shot at the dragon or into the arquebusiers with this whiz, but I decided in the end that the arquebusiers are worth more, so it'd be a little easier, even though the dragon is going to eat 80 more points every turn, right? I could have got a waiver on these guys, even without it. But anyway, my remaining whiz shoots at the dragon, hoping to kill it off. You might notice that Funny Bone is gone, but that's just because I pulled him off the table already. He charged into the War Machine and did a wound to it, and got a waiver. So good job, buddy. These guys, the archers and the flame breath, I believe, try to kill off. Oh no, they kill off the foot guard that were right here. So that's what they do. I thought about getting greedy with the diadem and going to kill a wizard as well, but in the end, at the end, I went no, I have to kill these foot guard to get the points. So I go for that, and there is no turn 7. Well, there is a turn 7 for the king on winged beast. I just give my opponent, I go like, we'll just double one against a thrower, so he doesn't get it and kills it off, and I end up with the goblins end up 100 points ahead. So this is a very bloody game. In the end, the tally was a tie, and I don't even think the attrition can modify that because it's kill already. So yeah, just a true tie. I hope you guys enjoyed the game, and I hope you enjoyed this gorgeous army I played against. Until next time, bye.